Let's go! Spring practice offensive depth chart. We're going to get through each and every position today. And Brian Kelly had a very interesting 30-plus minute press conference. We're going to throw in a few clips and quotes from that. And, of course, this year our spring practice coverage is presented by the Presley Collection.
Look, nobody has the starting position. Go earn it.
So that's Brian Kelly talking about the quarterback position, where it is a wide open battle, according to Kelly. He even went on to say this about reps.
We're going to go seniority to start, 1 through 4, first in to last in. And then, the next time it might be last in to first in.
So that last part is key because, according to BK, all 4 of these QBs are going to get a lot of reps, and more importantly, all 4 of them are fully healthy and ready to go. But you just saw the graphic where I have Myles Brennan and Jaden Daniels separated from Garrett Nussmeier and Walker Howard, and a lot of that has to do with the latter's youth, not so much their ability. Now, as far as the battle between Jaden Daniels and Myles Brennan, just because of Jaden Daniels' overall experience, I do have him slightly ahead of Myles, but this will get sorted out. Look, the quarterback, whoever it may be, can only go so far with good protection. And for right now, the offensive line looks like this for me. Left tackle, Miles Frazier, the transfer. At left guard, returning starter Anthony Bradford. Charles Turner at center. Tremont Shorts at right guard. And Cam Wire at right tackle. I'm going to be honest, I'm not on fire about this offensive line for multiple reasons. We've touched on a lot of those during our live streams, and one major bit of information, and this is why live streams are so important, because we go so deep on each and every position and aspect of LSU football, is we've been talking up Garrett Dellinger for quite some time. It had been rumored for a while that Dellinger was going to get a look at center, but Brian Kelly updated us and say that he will probably not be. Now, as far as the backups are concerned, obviously Dellinger, you cross your fingers for Marcus Dumerville and Cardell Thomas, former 4-star top 150 overall prospects. Those two started to get a lot of snaps towards the end of the year, in particular versus Texas A&M, and we hope to see them. I mean, you're crossing your fingers. Hopefully those guys will be starters. So we'll see what happens there. Kimo McAnioli enters year 2 of his development. And then, of course, Xavier Hill, Marlon Martinez. This is going to be year 3 for them. I could see Martinez being the starting center next year, potentially. And then, of course, Will Campbell and Fitzgerald West, both new true freshmen coming into the fold. Now, you notice one big name that I am super high on is Emory Jones. He is not listed because he will not be a part of spring practice. He is not an early enrollee. So, once again, this is a very guessy offensive line because I think right now Brad Davis doesn't know what his offensive line is going to look like because it's still just so early. And these last couple of years, even in 2020 and 2021, we had a pretty daggum good idea of what that unit was going to look like. So now we get to running backs, and you're looking at a pretty interesting thumbnail from our Noah Cain versus John Emery deep dive last week. And right now, there is one major separator between Emery and Cain, and it's honestly pretty simple. Noah Cain, like Emory Jones, won't be here until the summer. They will not be participating in spring football. And you're looking at a graphic here of all the players that won't be taking part in spring football, but they are on the official roster. So, yes, John Emery, who pretty much practiced the entire year last year, has a pretty clear shot at being the RB1, right? Well, not so fast because, look, Corey Kiner, Armani Goodwin, Trey Bradford, and Josh Williams are still in this running back room. Goodwin is someone that actually Brian Kelly singled out as being fully healthy and ready to go for the spring. Corey Kiner last year, of these 4, was the best running back, showed spin moves, stiff arms, all the such, but we'll see. With Trey Bradford and Josh Williams also being there, it does muddy up the snaps, especially with a new running back coach in Frank Wilson. So this is going to be a crazy race. Boom, I'm looking at you, making sure you're still awake, baby. And look, if you've been to a live stream before, you know this topic gets brought up all the time. Is Jack Bech a tight end or is he a wide receiver? All I know is this guy is one of the 5 to 10 best players on the team, period, no matter what position you put him at. And look, he might not have a choice. He might have to play more of a tight end role next year because Brian Kelly mentioned in the press conference that they're looking for tight ends in the transfer portal. And he also mentioned that he might move some players around when it comes to their positions to tight end just to see if he could find a diamond in the rough. So does that mean going to the defensive side of the football and trying, let's just say, Savion Jones, who has a pretty decent tight end frame, at least throw him in and see what happens? I don't know. Once again, that's me just spitballing there. But, of course, you look at the backup tight ends, and look, that's Jack Mashburn and Cole Taylor, and that's pretty much it. And look, Jack Mashburn had a revelation last year in that Florida game as a pretty elite blocking tight end, and Cole Taylor has had his struggles over the first couple of seasons. So as of right now, it's still wide open. And I think Jack Besh is going to kind of sort of have to play that tight end role, but also be a hybrid guy that splits out wide.
We're in the process of building a relationship. I would say I know his last name right now. And I say that only because we're in that process of he's re-engaging. You know, he's been, injured. He's had a second surgery. But we're getting more acquainted every day. Look, he's a great player. He's a good kid. But this has been a rough spot for him. And what happens is you tend to get distracted because you're not involved in everything. But he's learning you got to be involved in everything, whether you're injured or not. And that's a process that he's going through. And we're seeing some really good changes. We had a nice conversation in the training room this morning where he's on top of his academics, and he's making good progress. But the good part about it is the surgery was successful. He's making good progress. He's in a walking boot right now. And that's really the most important thing. The rest of the stuff, we'll work it out between the two of us. I'm not that hard-headed. He's a good player. All right, thank you.
Wow. I love it. Is there any beef between BK and KB? And that's alliteration, isn't it? No. Alliteration. No, it's a palindrome, right? BK, KB, KBB. Yes, same thing back to front. And the answer to that is no. I don't think that there's beef. There might be a little tension. And look, there was a lot surrounding Kayshon's name in the transfer portal this offseason, and there was just a lot of just speculation surrounding Kayshon as he recovered from injury. And this tends to happen with college athletes. Players can, at times, when they're hurt, drift away from the team because you're not playing, you're not fully healthy, you're not yourself, and that can kind of stink. But as of right now, Kayshon, I would 99.9% say, is going to be strapped up and ready to go going into next year. As far as his depth chart is concerned, Kayshon is the clear-cut number one guy, and to put alongside him for right now, I have Jeray Jenkins and Malik Neighbors. Now, once again, that could be Kayshon, Jack Besh, and Malik, and another tight end. It once again depends on if LSU's going to run more 10 personnel, which is no tight ends, one running back, and 4 wide receivers, or will they just run a lot of empty where there's just 5 wide receivers on the field? That very well could happen when you have talented backups like Brian Thomas Jr., Kyron Lacey, and Chris Hilton in the fold as well. So who is actually going to line up where? This is, once again, for yet another year. This could be the 3rd year in a row where this is the case. LSU's best position group by a pretty considerable margin is the wide receiver room. And this year looks to be no different, especially if you put Jack Bech into the fold. So, once again, a lot of targets to go around. But the big news as far as going into the spring is Kayshon's health, because I do think there is a difference in what Kayshon could do on the field compared to everyone else. So as we always do at the end of every video, we give you a few extra nuggets outside of the main topic of the video. And right now you're looking at the full list of new roster numbers. What's very important, though, is LSU released their 2022 roster. They had not had names of who was on the 2022 roster for quite some time until today. And there are a few very important things to point out. One of lesser importance is kind of like what we referenced earlier, is that not everyone is here yet. So they will get here in the summer, and when they do, that is when LSU will issue roster numbers to those players. So a guy like Harold Perkins doesn't have his jersey number just yet. But more importantly is who wasn't on the new official roster. Quentin Skinner, the deep snapper, wasn't on there, but this is where it gets really fascinating. Joseph Evans and Deion Smith also weren't on that official roster. And there were rumors that both of those men would be back on the team. So I don't know exactly what is going on with that. I don't know if they're going to be a part of the team next year. We don't know. And that's why it's so important to keep this in mind. There were so many very critical LSU Tigers that did not take part in spring football last year and turned out to be pretty big contributors. Micah Baskerville is one of those guys on defense, and on offense, Jack Bech and Brian Thomas Jr., both of them were not early enrollees. So keep that in mind that right now it is not the be-all, end-all. Now, once again, we say thanks to our friends at the Presley Collection being the presenting partner of our spring football coverage. Really excited about what we have going on with them and some really big opportunities for us here at PHL. Now, don't forget, we always have some fun content floating in your face, including that Noah Kane and John Emery film study. We'll also include some Jaden Daniels film studies. And by far the most important thing is for you to get involved in the comment section down below. It is Power Hour LSU Bomb. Oh, tonight we're doing pork chops. Let's go.